Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Quintel Kickoff Show in our Centier Bank Studios here on the Region Sports Network. And you set for Friday Night Football that's just about to get started. I'm Jack Thiel. Alongside me, Mike Dewan, Zach Zanelli, producing today's show. We're going to go over all the games, and you can also view all the games we're going to talk about on our hometown scoreboard, courtesy of our friends from Strack and Van Til. We'll talk about some of our game nights built by Von Tobel. And then we'll talk about some other games. Maybe we're not broadcasting them, but definitely worthy of being talked about. So here are the games that you can view on that hometown scoreboard, courtesy of Strack and Van Til. The Indrain 59ers will face off against the Lowell Red Devils. Bishop Knoll will go all the way to Boone Grove, and Boone Grove debuting their brand new $10 million stadium. Fits about 2,500 people, but they said they expect 3,000 in attendance tonight. They have a lot of former players coming. I believe they're all going to walk the field on halftime or before the game. I know there's some festivities going around to celebrate this huge accolade for the Boone Grove Wolves. The Bowman Academy Eagles will face off against the Benton Central Bison. The Calumet Warriors will face off against our number 19, the West Side Cougars. The Chesterton Trojans will face off against our number 14, the Maryville Pirates. One of our game nights built by Von Tobel, which you can view in just shortly, and it's going to be a video broadcast. It will be the Griffith Panthers going all the way to face the number 8 Wheeler Bearcats. And then the Hammond Central Wolves will face off against our number 2 team, the Hanover Central Wildcats. Our second game night built by Von Tobel, the Highland Trojans, will go to the Brickyard to face off against the number 5 Hobart Brickies. The Lake Station Eagles will face off against the River Forest Engets. And our third game night built by Von Tobel, Lake Central Indians will face off against the number 3 Valparaiso Vikings in the DAC Clash. The number 6 Michigan City Wolves will go all the way to Bulldog Stadium and face off against the number 1 and undefeated Crown Point Bulldogs. We actually do have a final score for you. This game was played last night on Thursday. The Morton Governors defeated the East Chicago Central Cardinals 46-2. So that game is final already. They played last night and got that one done. The Munster Mustangs will face off against the number 10 KV Cougars, first time ranked all year, 4-4 on the year. Kirk Kennedy coming off his 200th career win. The Portage Indians will face off against the LaPorte Slicers. The South Central Satellites will face off against the Whiting Oilers. And the Tri-County Cavaliers will face off against the North Newton Spartans. Those are all the games. Like I said, you can view all those scores throughout the night and tomorrow morning on our website, regionsports.com, our Facebook and YouTube page. Of course, that hometown scoreboard is courtesy of our friends from Strack and Van Til. We're going to take a break here in the Quintel Kickoff Show in our Centier Bank Studios, and when we come back, we're going to talk about some games that we are definitely going to have fun talking about. As you're watching this on the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
Update your kitchen or bathroom with Von Tobel. Get 20% off select cabinets now through October 28th. Von Tobel has cabinets and vanities in a range of styles and colors, plus built-in storage, countertops, and flooring. Our designers will help you find the perfect selections for your style and budget. Scan to visit VonTobels.com today to book your free consultation at one of our 4 Indiana showrooms. Von Tobel, building better together.
Quintel Incorporated is a family-owned and operated company located in Northwest Indiana that specializes in the reconditioning, repair, and remanufacturing of heat exchangers. Since 1994, Quintel has been handling jobs of all sizes throughout the country. Equipped with the most modern technology and advanced tools, Quintel provides top-notch service. When you trust Quintel for all your needs, you'll get peace of mind and a finished job that exceeds your expectations. For more info about Quintel and the services they provide, visit quintel-inc.com.
When life takes you places and you can't get to the store, shop online with Strack and Van Til To Go. Our to-go service is easy to use and it can save you time and money. Once your order is in, our own Strack and Van Til team preps your order with care. For delivery or pickup, enjoy the convenience of letting our to-go team shop for you. Enjoy your special moments. Sign up online today at shop.strackandvantil.com.
Hi, I'm Crowell Company's Lantern Man. I'll cover your motorcycle. I'll be with you on the water. I'll be with you on the snow. I'll cover your insurance needs wherever you go. I'll be at Crowell Agency from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. As Crowell Company's Lantern Man, I'm your insurance superhero.
Crowell Companies, the insurance professionals in Highland, Maryville, and Michigan City.
From schools to stadiums, hospitals, and bridges, everywhere you look, union carpenters are building Indiana. With jobs and skilled trades in high demand, there's never been a better time to start building your future. As an apprentice, you'll earn a debt-free college degree, earn while you learn, and receive great benefits like healthcare and retirement. So what are you waiting for? Visit carpenters.com to learn more. Visit carpenters.com and start building your future today.
Thinking about what to do after high school? Consider a career with Boilermakers Local 374. As a Boilermaker apprentice, you'll earn while you learn. We offer excellent wages and benefits, and as part of our no-cost hands-on apprenticeship program, you'll learn from the best in state-of-the-art training centers and on the job. Become a union Boilermaker and get on your way to a great career. Find out more, visit www.local374.org or call 219-845-1000.
Back here on the Quintel Kickoff Show in our Centier Bank Studios. Now we're going to go over some games that are definitely worthy of being highlighted. The first one we kind of talked about last night on Region Football Weekly. The Andrean 59ers go to the Inferno against the Lowell Red Devils. Both teams 3-5 for the Andrean 59ers. Things have kind of not gone their way over the past couple of weeks. Coming off a loss to Hanover Central before the Lowell Red Devils, they've had an up-and-down season. Definitely the running back, junior Colton Scott, has been someone to highlight. Really big test for both teams. We talked about the Battle of Blue Bloods, two teams that really want to get back on track ahead of sectionals. And these are two teams who, we've talked about for many years. Have always, these games have always meant something more. Usually it's for a title or, a conference championship. Obviously that's not the case this year just because that one's taken already, but still a lot to play for here. And with the current weather predictions for tonight, seems like it's going to be a muddy and wet night at the Inferno.
I think that benefits the Red Devils. We talked about that yesterday in our episode of Region Football Weekly. But, again, grass field, although they both have grass fields, two of probably the last remaining grass fields in the area, at least in the conference for sure. It's, I think, with the run game of Lowell that they've had forever, and Andrean is not really much of a run team anymore as much as they were last year with the play of Drake Bowen and whoever they had back there. It felt like they could run the ball, but this year's a bit different. They don't really have that run game and a pretty inexperienced O-line from what I hear and see. So that's why I like the Red Devils. Again, they're gonna pound the rock tonight. It's gonna get a lot of muddy jerseys on both sides of the ball with the weather we got. Muddy grass, and it's gonna be a fun one though. Again, we talked about how historic both these programs are. It's weird to see both teams are playing each other in Week 9 and nothing's really on the line other than, I'd say, bragging rights and their fourth win of the year. 4-5 sounds a lot better than 3-6 going into postseason play. So again, we're going to talk about it a lot, but this is a playoff-like atmosphere. Two teams that are pretty evenly matched, in my opinion, and it's going to be ugly weather. So you have to know how to win in these type of games where obviously both teams are evenly matched and the weather may not be on your side. So it should be a fun one, but I'd like Lowell with the run game and in this ugly weather we got going on right now. So.
Yeah, both teams 3-5 going into tonight's game. The next game we'll talk about, one of our bubble teams, the Calumet Warriors. They go to Westside, face off against the number 9 Cougars. Calumet coming off that win against Griffith. They've actually won 2 of their last 3. And for the Westside Cougars, this is a team getting hot at the right time. It's really been the running back, and I should say a plethora of running backs, but especially Amarion Yarbrough. He's really been the bright spot in, what you like to say, RBU for the Gary Westside Cougars.
That's what they say.
Over 400 rushing yards in that win last week, and we counted it. Their 2 top leading rushers last week had about 250, so there was about 200 or more rushing yards that were accoladed for other than their 2 top rushers. So it's a deep running football team. Calumet, they played a deep running football team last week in Griffith. They got that win. So kind of facing the same, type of offense. You could make the argument that Westside's running game is more effective than Griffith. But for Calumet, obviously things are running high because that was a very tough start to the year. I believe they were ranked number 8 in our RSN preseason top 10. And things didn't go their way. And for the same thing, honestly, with the Westside Cougars, this was a team who kind of struggled in the beginning. And they finally found their footing here in the middle of the season, and now they're using it here at the end, 5-3 on the year, a chance to go 6-3. But this is also a game where it's a rivalry. You kind of talked about it at the Set 'em Up Lanes, pigskin party that we had in the beginning of the year, how one of the players, I believe it was for Westside, that said
they both won each other.
They both won each other. They both were looking forward to this matchup, and they got it. And I think what also makes this exciting is both the teams are playing their best football ahead of this one.
Yeah, completely. I think we can call this the Battle of Gary now. Calumet's in that Gary area, and then Westside, of course, obviously is Gary. So with two of probably the top football teams in the city, it's going to be a fun one. I know, as we mentioned, both teams really won each other. That they're looking forward to this Week 9 matchup, and I believe both are 2-1 in their respective divisions. So there's a lot to go into it. I know they're kind of going to be probably scoreboard watching alongside of their game to see where they end up in the division rankings. But nonetheless, this is a big game going into playoffs. Both teams, as you mentioned, coming off very solid wins, and it should be an interesting one. We mentioned Westside, the run game, Running Back University, according to them on their Twitter page, and they're going to stick to that. You know what they're gonna give out to Calumet. It's going to be Yarbrough. It's going to be Giuseppe Moore. It's going to be whoever they throw back there in that rotating door of the rushing attack. And Calumet, they have a decent run game, but I know they can kind of take the top off the defense. Javon Lawrence has been a name to look out for that has finally cracked our top 10 in receiving yards. He had a 96-yard touchdown last week against Griffith in their comeback win. So it should be interesting. Again, with this weather we're having, I think it benefits Westside a little bit.
Yeah.
It may be tough for Calumet to throw the ball and get those big plays that they're usually looking for and that they had last week against Griffith. So I like Westside at home, but it's going to be a fun one. It's going to be chippy. It's what rivalries are all about.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be one of the better rivalries in the next couple of years with them being in the same conference now and probably going to be sticking to that Week 9 matchup for years to come. So
Westside first time ranked in our top 10. We'll see how they do at that number 9 ranking. The next game we'll talk about, the Hammond Central Wolves bounced back last week. A nice win for them. They go to Hanover Central to face off against the Wildcats, number 2 in our RSN top 10, 8-0. They've already won their conference title just like that in their first year for Hammond Central. Deshaun Woods has been a question mark just because he did not finish the game against Morton. And then in last week's game, he did not record any stats, so unsure what's going to happen with him tonight. And, for this Hammond Central team, it was always, Deshaun Woods this and Deshaun Woods that. We did see a little bit of a spark from one of their freshman running backs, had over 100 yards rushing. But against Hanover Central, you're really going to have to play probably the best football you've ever played in your life. And, that's no discredit to Hammond Central. It's just because Hanover Central is as good as it gets.
Yeah.
This is a team who I believe has scored over 30 points in every game. And their defense has been up and down. They've had those moments where they had given up a lot of points. And there's times where their defense has been shut down, but the offense has been one consistent part. Matt Kuntz, Rocco Bartolomeo, obviously Caden Verrett, the leading touchdown scorer in the region. It does not get easy when you face off against Hanover Central, and this is a team that likes to run a lot, and obviously we keep talking about the weather conditions because that is going to play true tonight for a lot of these games. And I think Caden Verrett, you look at that, I believe, 21 touchdowns so far this year. It seems like he could be poised for a big game. The quarterback, Matt Kuntz, obviously a quarterback.
He could run,
could be poised. Yep, he can run, so he's poised for a big game. Both teams that can really run the ball around the field, but for Hanover Central, you're 8-0. Obviously, a loss doesn't really, it blemishes your record, but you still feel pretty good about your team. But going into sectionals, 9-0, one of the top teams in their class, it's a bigger game than you think just because you do not want to have that sour taste after what's been a long and grueling season. You spend all that time working out, all that time practicing, film room, and to be one win away from an undefeated regular season in your first year in a conference is a huge accomplishment. And I believe that would mean so much to all those kids, especially all the seniors that they're going to be celebrating tonight. I think that would mean just the world to them. Obviously, a state championship is the number one goal in mind for these kids. But for them to have those seniors, especially their last season, an undefeated season in that new conference, a lot of people were talking about it. I think for them, that is huge. And I think you're just going to see the same thing that we've seen all year. It's a team that's going to have that balanced offensive attack. Caden Verrett's going to get his touchdowns. Matt Kuntz is going to get his touchdowns. The real question is, what can Hammond Central do to try to keep this one close?
Yeah, you got it. You just about touched all the bases there. It's going to be an emotional night in Hanover. Of course, senior night, last week of the year, they're at home, and it's what that senior class has accomplished, as we just mentioned. It's been a lot, and they still got some work to do. I know they're not satisfied with where they're at now. Of course, they want to win this game with postseason just around the corner, and they played they ran through some opponents, and this looks favorable again. I think for him and Central, I think you really need Deshaun Woods to play. I don't know what the status is over there, if it's injury, if it's something else, but he's a guy you kind of want. And with this weather conditions, Hammond is a very, very big run-based team. We kind of harped on them finding those other weapons, and they found that last week against East Chicago, but Hanover's a different beast. No disrespect to East Chicago, but this is going to be a tough one for Hammond Central. And with the weather we're having, they could benefit the run-heavy offense, and they need a playmaker like Deshaun Woods back in uniform. But for Hanover, it's, again, stick to it. It may be difficult in this rain where the passing attack may not be there, but you have a two-headed beast in the backfield with Caden Verrett, who's not only the leading touchdown scorer in the area, but I believe he is second in rushing yards. So you're going to rely on him, but Matt Kunz could also run the ball, and I'm sure they could still find ways to throw it and make plays in the rain. So it'll be a fun one again, but I think we like Hanover Central to add on to these incredible streaks that they have going on and finish their second straight, I believe it's their second straight regular season unblemished. So
about before we go to the break, number 6 Michigan City, number 1 Crown Point, an outright DAC title on the line. Crown Point lost in a Valpo win. Well, that would make it a shared DAC title, but for Crown Point, they are riding high, not just on this year, but taking all that momentum from last year and applying it to this season. All the undefeated streaks are on. The road winning streak, although they're at home, so the road winning streak doesn't mean much tonight, but still a huge thing when you go into sectionals, regionals, semi-state, and etc. This is a team that hasn't lost in, I can't even tell you the last time they lost a regular season game or a DAC game.
It's been a bit.
Going to be a tough game just because they were tested against Chesterton, 21-7 win. You don't really see that close of a game for Crown Point. The closest one was that Valpo game where it was very close. But for Michigan City, this is also a team playing their best football. Early struggles, obviously, with Cody French in his first year. And it seems like the Michigan City players and maybe assistant coaches and everyone else, I guess, with Michigan City is finally bought into Cody French's philosophy and his motives. I think they're finally playing the brand of football that he came to Michigan City to, apply to his players. We're seeing Jaden Hart kind of look like the Jaden Hart from last year. Tyler Bush has been that dual threat quarterback. You talk about all those receivers they have, Elijah Collins, Benjamin Martin, and Cameron Bell. And, of course, you can't forget about the freshman Kyron Hart. And their defense has a couple of guys as well. So for Crown Point, it's going to be another test. Obviously, you're at home, senior night, grueling weather, but don't sleep on this Michigan City team. Maybe that Lake Central one wasn't the prettiest. Obviously, a lot have happened, and they won on the final play. But since then, it seems like things have really been rolling for them offensively and defensively, and that's what they're going to need in a game like this tonight.
You got it. Many would question if LSC went the different way. You wonder how that ripple effect would kind of go out through the course of the regular season. Those are one of those signature wins that ultimately turn a program around. And, again, going into this season, they had 2 wins last year, but they lost a lot of games by close and by a close margin. And kind of the question going into this year was, can they close out those games that they again, coming down to the last whistle, coming down to the final quarter, they have to find ways to win games, and they've done it this year. But this is a different beast. We talk about all the stats and streaks of Crown Point, all the the high talented players that they have on this team. But I think benefiting from Michigan City, again, it stinks with the rain. That's what's going to happen. But I think this may be the most balanced offense Crown Point may face all year. Of course, Valpo gave them a lot of fits, but they're kind of run dominant. Travis Davis had a very solid first half before he unfortunately left in that third quarter. And it's with Michigan City again. We're seeing that these wide receivers of all levels, all class levels, can perform. From sophomore, from freshmen to seniors. I mean, it's everybody top to bottom, and I think they got to spread the ball around a little bit if they want to find success against the stout Crown Point defense. But again, don't sleep on Jaden Hart. He's been playing. He's had a fantastic about 5-game stretch. It was a tough start for him going into the year, and then he's turned it up, and he's kind of been that bell cow for this city defense. Or offense, excuse me. But it should be a fun one. I think it'll be. Crown Point showed last week that. Again, they could be vulnerable.
Or human.
They are human. Again, Chesterton, it's a tough place to play. Going there, and Chesterton, even though they're a little bit banged up, they did some work on them. And I think City's going to definitely be looking at that film, and they're going to try and exploit those weaknesses. Now, again, the rain pending, that's not a great thing to have, going against you. But it should be a fun one. But Crown Point, I think you got to rely on your playmakers again. If you can't really throw the ball, you got the legs of course, Larry Ellison, but Ehrlich could also run the ball as well. He's got a couple scores on the ground. So it should be a fun one. It's probably not going to be as explosive as we may want it to be with the rain, but it's two of probably the best, I'd say, at least offenses that are going to be spreading the ball around if they can and doing whatever they can to scrap out this big Week 9 win going into the bye next week for both squads.
Yeah.
So
2 teams with dual threat quarterbacks and high-level running backs. We're going to take a time out here on the Quintel Kickoff Show, and we come back. We're going to talk about our game nights built by Von Tobel that you're going to be able to view in just a couple of minutes here on the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
Have you checked out Centier Bank's student checking account? This no-fee checking account is perfect for students and teens ages 14 to 24 and comes with all the features you need to succeed, such as a debit card, digital banking, and automatic deposit. Centier Bank can help you start establishing good spending habits today for your better tomorrow. For more information, visit Centier.com/student-checking or visit your local branch. If you are under the age of 18, your parent or guardian must also sign on the Centier student checking account. At the age of 25, your account will automatically convert to the Centier checking account. You must deposit $25 to open this account. This account is not eligible for overdraft advantage. Member FDIC.
With electrical services from Economy Electric Heating and Cooling, you can radiate the perfect amount of light and energy into your home. From rewiring and code upgrades to ceiling fans, lighting, security, and more, Economy Electric Heating and Cooling's trained electricians will make sure you can enjoy your home on full power all the time. For a free estimate on electrical work, call Economy Electric Heating and Cooling at 219-923-4441, and you can visit them on the web at 4ajobdoneright.com. That's the number 4ajobdoneright.com.
Earn while you learn from the best hands in the business. The Bricklayers Allied Craftworkers for Indiana, Kentucky Apprenticeship. That's right, this is a paid apprenticeship.
I'm getting an education while learning a trade and getting paid for it.
The thing that surprised me the most about this apprenticeship program is the respect I've received after the proper time and training.
Classes start soon, so apply now. There are training centers throughout Indiana and Kentucky. We are the Bricklayers and Allied Craftworkers for Indiana, Kentucky Apprenticeship. The best hands in the
For over 100 years, Burns Funeral Home and Crematory has been assisting families in their time of need. Serving Northwest Indiana, the staff at Burns Funeral Home will help guide your family in creating a meaningful ceremony. From a simple to elaborate, to traditional or unique, the caring family at Burns Funeral Home will tailor a ceremony to fit your needs. And for your other loved ones, Burns Funeral now has a pet cemetery and crematory. Visit burnsfuneral.com or give them a call at 219-942-1117.
Back here on the Quintel Kickoff Show in our Centier Bank Studios. Thank you all for making us a part of your Friday night ahead of all our great action that we're going to have for you. I'm Jack Thiel, Zach Canelli producing, and Mike Dewan has something in his hand. Why don't you tell us what you have and what it's about, Mike?
Got a film reel here.
Film reel.
This thing's heavy as heck, man. This is no joke. This is crazy. You know, this is. If you don't know what this is, here we go, right here.
There's the film.
Here we go. This is Andrean and Westside. Sounds like a basketball game from December 10th, 1971. Westside won 74-72. If you look real closely, I'm not going to pull it out, but you could actually see little clips on the film reel. That's how they did it back in the day, and it's part of our collection that we have. It's very extensive. We've talked about this in episodes past, but we started this thing, a GoFundMe. It's called Remember the Region, and it's in the name, basically. We have an incredible collection of film reels, mini cassettes, regular size cassettes, VHSs, you name it, we got it. And it's not only basketball, we have plenty of football, which is obviously why we're talking about this right now, but it's again, if you're not a football fan, if you're a basketball fan, baseball, softball, we got it all. And we have this incredible collection that we just maybe cannot completely digitize and organize ourselves. So that's why we started this GoFundMe called Remember the Region. You could find it on our any social media pages, and it's tied into our link tree, which is found on all of our social media platforms. Again, Remember the Region. Help us remember all the fun moments, which makes sports so great in the area. It's what it's all about. And again, we need your help to again digitize all this stuff, organize our extensive collection that we have, ranging from obviously the 70s we got right here. So again, Remember the Region. Go check it out on our GoFundMe. That is it.
Absolutely. Now let's discuss our game nights built by Von Tobel that you're going to be able to view in just a short bit. And of course, you can view these on our Facebook page, YouTube, our website, regionsports.com, and ihsatv.org. Our first game night built by Von Tobel, to video broadcast. Griffith goes all the way and faces off number 8 Wheeler. This is a big game for both teams. For Griffith, trying to build something, obviously a very young program, only one senior on the team. They're led by a junior running back in Jackson Lawson. Of course, for the Wheeler Bearcats, a team that's won 5 in a row, a chance to win the GSSC South title tonight, and they're led by their quarterback Klimzak, Bryce Compton, the receiver, and Jaden Ortiz, the running back. And this is an interesting game because obviously we keep talking about the rain and how that's going to play into effect. Now, Wheeler does have a brand new all-turf stadium. It's beautiful. We were there just the other day, and of course we'll be there tonight. And for Wheeler, if that is the case with that rain, how is that affecting the duo of Klimzak and Compton? Just because those two have just been bread and butter the whole year, and especially since this 5-game win streak started for the Wheeler Bearcats. And not just, I mean, it's also kind of not fair for us not to mention Jaden Ortiz. He's had 8 touchdowns in the last 5 games. It's really a 3-headed monster for this Bearcat offense. And for Griffith, obviously the weather might play in their favor because they are a heavy running team with Jackson Lawson. He's been one of the most impressive running backs in the area. But this is also a Wheeler Bearcat team that is firing on all cylinders. And what's even better news is they have a bye to start off sectional. So knowing that you're playing your best football, 5-game win streak, possibly 6-game winning streak, you can win the GSSC South for the first time in a couple of years. Nick Testa doing his thing, I believe, first-year head coach for the Bearcats. This is going to be a battle, and I believe that this is one that's going to come down to the final minutes.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. A lot riding on this game. Obviously, a Phil Mason revenge game from what we're seeing.
Absolutely.
It's going to be good for him to be back at Wheeler. But for Griffith, you may have to find another playmaker. Again, you got Jackson Lawson, who's been fantastic. Not going to put that any other way. But I don't know. You may, again, a lot of teams are going to key on him, especially with the weather we're having right now. They're going to be Griffith's going to. They know what they're going to do. They're going to hand it off to Lawson, and maybe another player steps up tonight. I think you're going to have to look for somebody else. Again, with this stout Wheeler defense, they have Xavier Harlovich and Jackson Smith, who are 2 of the top tacklers in the area, both seniors on their senior night. They're going to, emotions are going to be riding high, and they're going to be looking to contain this run game. But for Griffith, they may need to find another playmaker to kind of take the top off this defense and put a couple points against a Wheeler offense that's probably going to put up some points of their own. Now, for Wheeler, again, with the rain, that's not very beneficial. Caleb Klimzak has been fantastic as a passer. And, of course, Bryce Compton, Tyne Vetical have been 2 of kind of the best wide receiver duos, I'd say, in the area, at least in the conference. And, if you're not going to be able to throw the ball, of course you can hand it off to Jaden Ortiz, but kind of like I'm saying with Griffith, you got to find ways to get to get the ball into these playmakers' hands. What if it's a jet sweep, if it's, maybe just an extension of the run game, get it to them in space and let them make a move or two, and we'll see. Again, this rain, it really kind of switches up some game plans for these high-powered offenses, and you have to find ways to overcome that. That's why, we have these games now that they get them ready for playoffs when the weather's going to be crappy. It's going to be cold. Who knows? There may be some snow in the near future. It's not going to be pretty. It's not all sunshine and rainbows here in Northwest Indiana. So it's going to be a fun game, of course. There's a lot riding on this game for Wheeler and Griffith. Griffith is, again, they want to go into their sectional with a win against a very solid team. And Wheeler, I think they're going to be putting a lot into this game, knowing that they're off next week and ready for their sectional semis and whoever they play. But again, I like Wheeler. I think they just have the playmakers. And Griffith, again, they're still trying to experience everything. They are a young team, one senior, although Wheeler's probably kind of that. they kind of have the same team outlook, a lot of solid juniors, but they have some seniors that I believe they could take them over the top, stuff the run game of Griffith, and ultimately walk away with their first division championship since 2015, and to cap off a very successful regular season for Nick Testa and the Wheeler Bearcats.
I think you brought a great point about Griffith trying to find something other than Lawson, just because in their loss against Calumet last week, Lawson had all their points, including a 2-point conversion. So it's trying to find what the balance is in that offense, because I'm sure Calumet, they were down in that game in that third quarter. They probably went to halftime saying, look, focus on Lawson. If they want to beat us with Colton Strezzo with his arm or his legs, that's fine, but we're going to stop their number one player. And that might be the case tonight. Now, Phil Mason, one of the best head coaches in the area, I'm sure he's got a game plan.
For sure.
But it is going to be interesting to see how that weather impacts this high-powered Wheeler offense. They've averaged 40 points in their 5-game win streak and only allowed an average of 10 points. This is a team that's playing on all just the way you'd want to play. And what's also interesting is the coaching matchup, just because these are two head coaches who are starting their first two teams the same way. What do you mean? Phil Mason, his first job as a head coach that we know of was with Hammond Clark, obviously. And then after that, with Wheeler, like we've been talking about. So his first two jobs were with Hammond Clark and Wheeler. Now Nick Testa, first-year head coach at Wheeler, spent 3 years at Hammond Clark before they unfortunately shut down, and now he's here at Wheeler. So talking about two head coaches that have weird backgrounds. You have new school versus old school. Obviously, Phil Mason has coached, I believe, 21, 23 years, and Nick Testa going into his 4th year as a head coach, but both have very similar starts to their coaching careers in terms of schools they've coached at. So I think this is going to be a fun one. I don't know if they even know that they have that similar path.
Yeah, what do they say? History is like an endless circle?
I don't know. I'm not sure, though, if they know.
Adage of that,
I wonder if they know that, hey, Phil Mason, he coached at Hammond Clark and White or Wheeler, and then Phil Mason knows that Nick Testa coached at Hammond Clark. I don't know if they know that. If I have a chance to talk to them at the game, I'm definitely going to ask them that, because I think that's just such a weird. It's just weird to see that.
I'll tell you what, I do expect a nice graphic made by yours truly right here. That's where he got all the information. He was punching up a nice little graphic that'll be on our broadcast.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it'll be a fun one. Again, two solid coaches that one is making a name for themselves right now, and then one, of course, is as storied as it gets in Northwest Indiana. And, of course, the talent on the field, there's going to be a lot of very solid junior talent, not going to, of course, knock out on all the seniors on this wonderful senior night that we're going to have at Wheeler, but there's a lot of talent on both sides of the ball, especially for that conference, and it's going to be a fun one, again.
Yeah. Wheeler definitely playing the best football on that brand-new stadium built this year. And we kind of joked about it on Region Football Weekly, like the Field of Dreams field out in the middle of nowhere. But if you build it, they will come. And the wins are coming for Wheeler, and we'll see if they can continue this momentum. Once again, game night built by Von Tobel, video broadcast. And you can view it on our website, regionsports.com, Facebook, YouTube, and IHSATV.org. Now time for our second game night built by Von Tobel. Highland and Hobart, a battle at the Brickyard. The number 5 Brickies coming off a huge win against the Morton Governors for Highland. They've been kind of an up-and-down season as well for them. I think we really came impressed from Hobart's offense last week, obviously. Willie Shear, 41 carries and I believe over 200 total yards.
Over 250.
250, okay.
Some great fantasy day on the ground.
Sorensen, Caldwell, Aiden Leonard.
Yeah.
Highland's going to definitely have their hands full, although they do have one of the leading tacklers on their defensive line, so that is a positive sign for the Trojans. But for the Brickies, like we kind of mentioned, they will not be playing for a conference title for the first time in, I believe, 3 years. It's going to be...
they had a share of it last year. Hobart
okay.
Their first outright, I believe, was 2020.
Yeah.
And then they've had shares with Andrean and Lowell, but obviously we know the story of Hanover. But it'll be a good one again, as we're saying.
Nevertheless, I think for Hobart, the offense we know is great. I think I'm more focused on what the defense will look like, because there's been 2 games where the offense has been electric, but there's also been 2 games in those games where the defense was a little worrisome, and I think you know which ones I'm talking about, the Kankakee Valley game, and, of course, the Morton game last week. But give them credit. They did bounce back and responded in a huge way. But for Hobart, they can't play that type of football if they want to have a long season. You can't be giving up 35 points, although you're not going to score 62 every night.
No. The offense is, I'd say, if there's a bright spot this year for Hobart, it's definitely been that offense. They put up points, especially when they need to. They've won them, I'd say, at least 2 games this year. The KV game, if you give up 48 points, you should probably lose. And they scored 53 and just scraped out of that one. And And then Andrean, that was a nail biter to say the least. Of course, they didn't give up too many points, but the offense came back down 10 and won that one in a thriller. But it should, again, it's the way we've seen them play against Highland, according to what I saw on the research. They have never lost to Highland, knock on wood, for the Bricky faithful. But this is a game that kind of gets them ready for the postseason. It doesn't get easier for the Brickies. They go to New Prairie next week.
Yeah,
and that could arguably be the 4A sectional championship right there. New Prairie had a tough start to the year, but they've turned it around very well. They only lost 22-0 to Penn, and of course they lost the opener. But I believe that is the only 2 losses they have this season, so they are not a team to sleep on for the 4A sectional. But sticking to this game, Highland, again, this is a playoff-like atmosphere. You're going to be playing teams that either are probably to your level or better than you. So I think it starts and ends with Nick Johnson. Again, he's, I believe, now the second leading tackler in the area. He was the leading tackler that was coming back for this year, a very solid linebacker of Highland. It's going to be fun watching him tonight fly around the field, make some plays, but he can't do it all. It's going to be a tough Hobart offense. You have to contain all 11 of those guys. Of course, they have playmakers on the outside and Leonard and Caldwell, and then you have Willie Shearer who could run it up the gut. So it'll be interesting to see how Highland kind of tries to limit that. I don't know if there's a stopping to that Hobart offense. We haven't really seen it much in conference play yet. You can only hope to contain them and expect Hobart to have their playmakers again, do their thing. With this rain, it may be tough to throw the ball, but again, expect Shearer maybe to get another 40 carry night. Sorensen, of course, could run the ball when he needs to, and I know they got some solid backups too that could carry the load off whenever maybe Shearer or Sorensen gets tired. So we'll see again tonight. It's a big game for both, I'd say, just getting ready for these playoffs coming up next week.
Yeah, once again, game night built by Von Tobel that you'll be able to view just in a short minute on our Facebook, YouTube, our website, regionsports.com, and ihsatv.org. Leo Stadaher and Josh Huddleston will be on the call for that one. Our third game night built by Von Tobel. Lake Central goes to the Valpo Vikings. Senior night there. Valpo, the number 3 team. Lake Central, a tough loss on their senior night last week against Maryville. Obviously, Xavier Williams and Chase Kwiatkowski are question marks. You ask why. Xavier Williams missed last week's game. That's now 4 missed games this year. He missed 3 games in the middle of the season, came back for 2, and then missed last week for Chase Kwiatkowski. Left the game in the middle of the second quarter against Maryville. He did not return in the second half. The backup quarterback for Lake Central did score a touchdown on their lone touchdown. Chase Reddick. So for Chase Kwiatkowski, we're not sure if he's going to go tonight just because he did leave that game and did not come back. We have not heard anything. And, of course, with Xavier Williams, he did not play last week, so we're unsure what the status with him is. For Valpo, this is a team that did face some injuries as well. Obviously, the injury of Davis against Crown Point is something we've been talking about. It looks like he's out once again. Justin Clark got injured against Portage last week. He was removed from the game. Backup quarterback Andrew Elkhorn was responsible for 2 touchdowns, though, in that second half. We're unsure if Justin Clark will play that game as well. But what's funny about this matchup is, obviously, the Vikings have had Lake Central's number over the years. I believe the last time that Valpo lost, Lake Central lost to Valpo probably was,
I think it was
2016. And for this year, Lake Central, they are undefeated on the road. They are 3-0 on the road. They defeated Munster, LaPorte, and Portage. Or my apologies, LaPorte and Chesterton. Portage was at Lake Central. Yep. So LaPorte and Chesterton and Munster, sorry, Mike, but undefeated on the road. And another thing is they've never lost back-to-back games this year. They've never won back-to-back games. They've won. It's been back and forth. It's been win-loss, win-loss, win-loss. So if history repeats itself, they should win because it's a road game and they're coming off a loss. But man, do they have their hands full? It's going to be a playoff-like atmosphere. We've talked about it. Senior night for the Vikings, they're going to be celebrated just because of the historic run they went on last year and all those seniors. And the Viking faithful is just one proud unit. And for Lake Central, they're going into a very hostile territory. Like we said, we don't know what this team's going to look like. We don't know if Williams will play. We don't know if Chase Kwiatkowski is going to play. Now, the question is, do you rest them, get ready for sectionals? Because they do have Portage next week, and if they win that game, most likely they'll play Crown Point. Not trying to get ahead of ourselves, but for Lake Central, this is a big game. Obviously, you want some fight. I think last week against Maryville was disappointing just because this is a Lake Central team that I believe is better than years past. I was talking about, when Lake Central lost against Michigan City, it's a loss, but they showed more fight than a lot of other Lake Central teams have shown in the past. But the Lake Central team we saw against Maryville was the team we were kind of accustomed to seeing, a team that just got blown out of the water on a big night for them, senior night, because they haven't won a senior night since they beat Maryville. So for Lake Central, they're going to really have to fix some things and build some momentum. But for the Vikings, this is a team with a lot of momentum, even with injuries. It's next man up mentality, and this team is deep. I mean, as deep as you can get, because we talk about Thomas Berta and obviously Andrew Elkhorn coming in for Justin Clark. For Lake Central, I believe their biggest key is to build some momentum. For Valpo, I believe it's to keep everybody healthy, because you do not want to go into sectionals without some of your best players, and evidently it may seem like they're going to, if they want to get to where they want to go, it seems like they're going to have to play Michigan City and maybe Maryville on that road, and those are two teams playing some good football. But for this one, Lake Central and Valpo, two teams have gone at it for many years, and I think for the Vikings, they have a lot riding on momentum just because it's senior night, and without Williams and maybe Kwiatkowski for Lake Central, it could be a very long, rainy night.
We shall see. I think it's two teams that are really looking forward to this bye next week. They are two banged-up teams that are losing a lot of their playmakers, unfortunately. And the status, that's probably the big question tonight. You need some of these guys, at least for LC, you need some of these guys to compete against Valparaiso and beyond that come playoff time. And, if LC sits some guys and gets some kind of a 2-week hiatus from playing and putting your body on the line for a Friday night, so be it. This game, as much as you love playing on Friday nights, especially against a very talented Valpo team, a chance to play spoiler to the senior night, and just, it sucks to maybe not having to be rested for it and getting ready for postseason play, but that's what it comes down to. There's a bigger picture for Lake Central, and if conference is out of it, you move to the next thing, and that's sectional play. So we will see tonight. For Valpo, again, we've talked about it. It's going to be an emotional senior night from what that team did last year, and I think they were on some sort of sectional streak that I've been a part of on the wrong side of things. They've ran through that 5A sectional plenty of times, and they are, again, it's what Bill Marshall's done with that program in the past few seasons. It's nothing of legendary, and it's, we'll see again. I think the status is, of course, we're going to see what these playmakers, if they are going to play tonight, but I wouldn't be surprised if maybe you do rest a couple guys. There's the bye next week. You have to take what you can get and get these guys healthy for the biggest games of the season, which, that's semis of sectionals in 2 weeks. But, It'll be a packed environment. Senior night's always fun, and LC, they have a chance to play spoiler, and we talked about that with Michigan City a little bit tonight. That's the next best thing. If you're not going to be the overwhelming favorite like Valpo and Crown Point are, you get a chance to play spoiler, go into hostile territory, and take care of business. So we'll see. It's been an interesting season for LC, to say the least, but it could be another fun chapter tonight. Who knows? You never know with this rainy weather we're having and with another typical Friday night in high school football.
I think it's interesting for the Vikings because you can make the same case of them resting some guys. Now they do have something to play for, a chance to share that DAC title if Crown Point loses.
That's true.
So maybe, now obviously this is hypothetically speaking, there's some scoreboard watching going on in that Viking coaching staff. Now maybe you play the starters in the first half, you go into halftime, and Crown Point's like up 28-0. Maybe you just put the backups in. Put the bench guys in, rest your starters. They played a half just because that's, I think, what they're playing for is a chance for that share of the DAC. But if you go into halftime and Crown Point's got that huge lead, you might just say, look, I need these guys rested. I don't want anybody going down. Look, Crown Point won. Congrats to them. Let's make sure our guys are rested. And it also gives them a chance to give the guys who maybe don't play a lot a chance to get some reps, because when you do get into playoff time, it's not like you get a bye. It's win or go home, and you need everybody on that roster to be ready to step in. And if you have a couple of guys for Valpo or Lake Central who haven't really played that much this year, you want to try and get them as many reps as you can to have them ready. Yep. Now, I'm not saying you got to play them every down, but I'll tell you, 3 downs is better than no downs. That game action, and you can obviously speak about this because you've been through it all, is so much different than that practice action. When you're in the game, everything is different than just practicing.
That's what you go through the season for. And again, for these home teams, Valpo and Crown Point, we're kind of talking about these probably decent-sized favorites tonight going into the final game of the season with a lot riding on it there. It's senior night, so you're probably going to be playing a couple seniors who, again, credit to them. I'm not going to say you're playing because of it's senior night, but these are guys that maybe have stuck around with the program, I wouldn't say practice dummies, but staying in practice, staying with the team, scout team. I mean, they're a big piece of the puzzle. They have to, again, maybe you're not playing that much, but you are staying with the team, being a valuable piece in practice, and far beyond maybe what you're seeing on Friday nights, but well beyond the Saturday to Thursday. These are guys that are sticking with the program, going through it, maybe taking some tough hits from the starters and the number twos. But again, this is what it's all about. We'll see what happens. There may be some scoreboard watching, but whether or not it's going to be a fun night. And again, senior night for these schools that are very dependent, I'd say, on these senior classes, and they're going to be missing a lot of these guys come next year. But it's, again, another fun one in the books, and we're going to expect – I don't know if we're going to – the thing you talked about, maybe some blowouts. With this rain, it may be tough. You may not see teams pulling ahead. These games may be quick, maybe a lot of run plays. If teams still want to try and throw the ball, it may be a couple passes also hitting the ground. So we'll see. Again, it changes a bunch of game plans with these high-powered offenses. And I don't know, expect a lot of muddy jerseys tonight, a lot of turf-filled jerseys as well for these turf fields, but it'll be a fun one.
Yeah, absolutely. And, of course, 3 game nights built by Voluntola, which are just about to start. Griffith at Wheeler. And then, of course, the one we were just talking about, Lake Central at Valpo and Highland at Hobart. You can view those games on Facebook/Region Sports, YouTube/Region Sports, regionsports.com, and IHSAA-TV.org. A big thank you to our executive producer, Chris Ramirez, our operations manager, Rich Castillo, our coordinating producer, Claude Martinez, our producer for today's show, Zach Zanelli, my co-host, as always, Mike Dewan. But have some fun. It's Friday night. It might not be the weather you want, but we have some great football for you on hand. For the Quintel Kickoff Show here in the Sentier Bank studio, you're watching this on the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
Growing I am proud that my family's been doing business here for nearly 100 years, which started with my grandfather, John Gladish. Over my career, I've witnessed families being torn apart by the negligence of others, and everything from unguarded openings at construction sites to reckless driving on our roads. Our experienced attorneys, paralegals, and staff know that insurance companies and their lawyers will go to great lengths to avoid paying compensation. Do not waste your one and only opportunity to seek fair compensation for your loss. Give the Gladish Law Group a call and put our team to work for you.
Blythe's Team Sports in Valparaiso is a leader in athletics apparel and equipment sales. With in-house production including screen printing, trophies, embroidery, and more, Blythe's can help you to create the perfect look. For more information, visit them online at teamblythes.com. Blythe's Team Sports in Valparaiso, where the athletes shop.
Centrally located in downtown Indianapolis, the Hampton Inn is just steps away from Bankers Life Fieldhouse. Situated at 105 South Meridian Street, shopping, restaurants, entertainment, and many Indianapolis attractions are in near proximity. Hampton Inn has much to offer, including a hot breakfast, high-speed internet access in every room, as well as a gym fitness center. For reservations, the number is 317-261-1200. The website is hamptonin3.hilton.com. Hampton Inn, Indianapolis, downtown.